So yeah, I'm talking to my friend Grace today for Wand of Mind, my Substack. And I really wanted to speak with you, Grace, because I feel like the work you're doing with sovereignty and the ideas and teachings around it, I find a lot of overlap and resonance with my path of integral yoga. And I wanted to start just by asking you if you could give a brief summary of what you see sovereignty as.
Yeah, sovereignty is our true nature, right? It is something that we're actually born with as we are divine. We have a divine nature. We have soul power. We have spirit power. We have energy power and physical power. And this power is our inherent nature. We are born with it. And so that is true sovereignty. So sovereignty, you know, is as it was defined in recent times, is about dominion over another, right? Authority over another. But if we're actually looking at its true meaning and its original meaning, sovereignty means actually power, the true authority, the true power. So, what has true power? What has true authority? That which is divine, the divine within, which has true power over everything, right? So, in the way that we then um, look at sovereignty, is honoring and aligning with that true power that is within us, which actually is an expression of the virtues and values of what it means to be truly human.
Beautiful. So when you speak of the divine nature, I find a lot of similarity to the path of integral yoga, which um, is really emphasizing that the seeker gets in touch with the inner being, which is
Mm,
also called the psychic being, and that through surrender to the divine, in purifying one's nature, the psychic being, or what is also called the inner being, comes more and more to the front
mhm,
and guides one's life more and more so that life isn't being guided so much by the lower nature, which is like the
mhm,
ego and the impulses and the reactivity. Um, so, what I'm wondering is, for somebody who is living in the world today, who might
mhm,
not be on a specific path, but hearing about this idea of sovereignty, um, how would you teach or help somebody explore that within themselves to bring that
mm.
more and more to the front, their inner divine
Yeah,
nature?
absolutely. And I think in our world today, we're seeing really the letting go or release of religion and all of these different constructs that you know, religion, which was associated with spirituality, right? But spirituality is not necessarily religion. So spirituality here is that spirituality is of being of spirit, cultivating the spirit level. And so that's the spirit level being our nature. So when we think about ourselves as humans here in this life, like homegrown, just going about our day, you know, I think we have to keep in mind that there are three levels of being, three levels of truth. Um, and and that the three levels of being is the physical aspect, the energy aspect, and then the spirit or the soul aspect. And with that comes with the three levels of truth or three levels of reality, right? So there's the lower level truth, which is more the physical, the tribal, the family, the cultural, the habits and programs, or at the egoic level, in the way we are in the world, navigating the world to to navigate, to survive, having an identity, etc. So that's um, a way that we exert power, we exert our sovereignty in creating that space, right? The physical space. And then there's the emotional, energetic space where we then navigate through. That's the second level. Also, that's where we start to learn and grow and evolve, looking at, let's say, the habits and programming, and then we start to think and reflect and like, does that work for me? Is that true for me? Is that what I want to cultivate? And then starting to make a decision there. Like, what do I want to cultivate? Who do I want to become? Who am I envisioning of becoming? Or what kind of life am I trying to create? So then we exert power at that level. And then, even more subtle than that, and the highest level is the divine, the the soul level, the spirit level, the eternal being within us, the witness, the observer, that which is connected directly to the divine. And then there's that power there to be able to transform everything back into light, into love, into union. So I think it's important, as we're humans, we have to reckon with the fact that we're not just physical beings, we're not just energy, emotional mind beings, we're actually also soul beings. And we have these three levels of power that we're actually wielding. And that is inherent within us. And life is an invitation to explore and cultivate. And through these levels, realize our potential at all three levels of our being, living as we are now. Buddha talks about it as also that, and we see this a lot of the awakened masters, whether it's Lord Krishna, Lord Jesus, Kuan Yin, Yeshishogo Pamasambhava, Lord Buddha. They talk about how this human body is a precious human body, and it is through being in this human body that we actually realize our potential, being able to actually align and be in coherence at three of those levels of power, of sovereignty that we're actually talking about. And so, because then we realize we can um, transform and transmute the metamorphosis of the caterpillar into the butterfly, so to speak. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking on about integral yoga, and so we do have these levels in integral yoga. They talk about Sri Aurobindo and the mother talk about the mental, the vital, which is the emotional life, and the physical. And on each of those planes, there's an inner vital, there's an outer vital, which is like the egoic, construct. As you go farther and farther inwards, you touch more of the soul within each plane. And so when you're talking about the life, the three levels and the life level, and in becoming sovereign in that level, um, when I'm relating it back to my studies and path, um, in order for that to become sovereign, we need to open that to the divine. We
Mm,
need to have the divine come into that level um, in order to purify, transmute, eliminate what's not needed, um,
mhm.
and transform so it can become more of a soul-led um, way
Yes.
of living. That can
Mhm.
happen on the physical, like, you can start
Mhm.
to become more of a divine physical body. Um, so would you say, like, in your teachings, that when you're working with a student who wants to become sovereign and they're grappling with, some repetitive looping
Mhm.
thoughts or habits, do you lead them to open more to the light and to the divine in order for that to stream in, or how I'm just I'm just
Yeah.
really interested because I feel like there are so many um
Mhm.
correlations here. So
Yeah.
to walk me through, like, I want to become sovereign on, and
Mhm.
from your path of Chinese medicine and Tibetan Buddhism, how would you start to transform um, those habits and those thoughts and those ways of life that are blocking you
Yeah.
from
That's
becoming a more
that,
divinized
mhm.
and so sovereign being?
Yeah, and that's
I'm struck with that.
such a beautiful question.
And I know Qigong is like such, for
Yeah.
the physical part, is
Hmm.
such an
Yeah.
incredible way to touch the divine.
Absolutely. I've um, to answer your question directly, it's there are 100,000 practices and perspectives
Mm,
because there's not one way to get to the top of the mountain.
right.
And so it isn't formulaic, like this is going to do it and that's it. It's that it's a living, evolving being. And so whatever you're needing in, let's say, in the situation that happened yesterday is going to be different than what you need today. Even though there's similar themes, patterns, and habits that are perpetuated, there are different nuances. And so this is, if anything, what I'm um, to be direct about it is to access the divine in the moment, to access the soul being in the moment, to realize that in that very moment, regardless of what's arising and what's happening, that you're actually free and that you have the power there and then, it doesn't matter, to transform whatever is arising back into hosting, being the host of your life, seeing that, okay, it isn't necessarily what's arising, but how I'm responding to it. Do I see it then from the soul's perspective, from the divine perspective, from drama, trauma, or am I coming from like, this is a lesson? Am I open? Am I moving through it? Where is my power? Where am I coming from? Am I looking, clinging outside of myself to feel good about myself or self medicate or whatever I need? Or am I coming back into my divine power and realizing, hey, this doesn't define who I am? This doesn't actually, this, I am not a victim of the circumstance. I choose to be in my soul power, in my divine power, and choose from that place, how do I open? What do I need to learn? What am I not seeing? And how can I grow from this? So that's what I mean. Like, whatever situation, that's like the direct way to do it. Now, if we're not there, right? They call it in like Tibetan Buddhism, they call it, let's say, the Dzogchen, the great perfection in the moment. Everything as it is, as you are, everything's all right. Or it could be the Sufi, like the Muslims in the Sufi, the beloved, right? The beloved, opening to the beloved, and there's yearning and all of the things that we're needing to go through to actually clear the things that are not aligned to love so that we can love more deeply the beloved, the divine, right? And so with this, then, if we're not there, if we're not able to realize the divine in the moment, then there's the 10,000 practices, the breathing to clear the channels, the yoga to move the body, the somatic therapies, the qi gong to clear and purge the wounds, the traumas, whether it's ancestral or ours, right? Or we're carrying the collective traumas because we're all empaths in some way and becoming more sensitive. So then we clear, and we remember, oh, yeah, that's right. I am the divine here, the expression of that truth. So, yeah, there's And it's so beautiful because all the different beautiful traditions have all these different practices that support the practitioner to practice and find their truth in the moment if they can't find it directly.
That's beautiful. Yeah, there's this quote by the mother that I think really speaks to that, if you don't mind me reading it.
Of
Um,
course, I'd
maybe
love to hear
maybe
it.
that can lead into like talking about karma
Okay.
and like baggage and trauma and all the things that many of us feel like, how do I get to that place? I have so much I'm carrying around. And so I'll read this out loud to you. And she's talking about a spiritual rebirth.
Mm,
It says, for spiritual rebirth means the constant throwing away of our previous associations and circumstances and proceeding to live as if at each virgin moment we were starting life anew. It is to be free of what is called karma, the stream of our past actions. In other words, a liberation from the bondage of nature's common activity of cause and effect. When this cutting away of the past is triumphantly accomplished in the consciousness, all those mistakes, blunders, errors, and follies, which, still vivid in our recollection, cling to us like leeches, sucking our lifeblood, drop away, leaving us most joyfully free. This freedom is not a mere matter of thought. It is the most solid, practical, material fact. We really are free. Nothing binds us, nothing affects us. There is no obsession of responsibility. If we want to counteract or outgrow our past, we cannot do it by mere repentance or similar things. We must forget that the untransformed past has ever been and enter into an enlightened state of consciousness which breaks loose from all moorings. To be reborn means to enter, first of all, into our psychic consciousness, or our soul consciousness, where we are one with the divine and eternally free from the reactions of karma. Without becoming aware of the psychic or the soul, it is not possible to do so. But once we are securely conscious of the true soul in us, which is always surrendered to the divine, all bondage ceases. So, I mean, this is powerful
mm,
stuff.
beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
I want to have a conversation with you about her idea here that, you know, being in touch with our soul can just completely
Hmm.
make the stories disappear.
Yep.
And
Yes.
karma, which I know in Buddhism, karma is very that idea is very strong. I haven't studied it enough to know really like how it relates to the soul in Buddhism, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe you could just talk a little bit about this idea of sovereignty and once you make that decision to be in contact with your eternal divine being,
Mm-hmm.
like how that's so medicinal and just like
Mm,
it can make things really just fall
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has for
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah. Beautiful. Um, the
And the bondage, the bondage that she
mhm.
talks about that so many of us feel, not
Yes.
only to the karma, but to our circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe talk a little bit about circumstance and sovereignty and how we can.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was really beautiful. And one thing that my understanding, and this is, I think, something that's really important, is that we, as you were just also just sharing, Jenny, that this is not a concept, philosophy, or an idea. It's actually a realization of the truth. That you, when you're actually in bondage, you feel it. You feel that confusion, the tension, and the stress. You, and your body, your mind is actually communicating to you that there's something off. Right? It's communicating, it has its intelligence. And so then when we are at the soul level, and I don't mean pathologically peaceful, I don't mean suppression, I don't mean escape. I mean, when we truly feel that, and only we know because we know the subtleties of our being, right? That expansion, that stillness, awareness, opening. When we are there, regardless of what is actually happening outside of us, we feel that. We feel the divine within us that is untethered. And so this is that refuge, that inner refuge, the true refuge. And that level, you can see there is no bondage. There is no clinging attachment or anything because it is the divine, and the divine, the all that is in one within all. So that which is the true power in everything is within. And so there isn't what is there to fear, because what is true was never threatened. And you realize that at the soul level in your being, that is, like, to me, profound. And that it can happen in the moment when having an argument or feeling in the despair, or in the in the in the embrace of a love. It could happen any moment, but that we come back in there and we realize, wow, this is within me. And so that um that the soul level, at the divine level, that is free from karma. There's nothing there to attach to. It is, again, the all within all. And so everything is working as it is and as you are, and it is unraveling as it is. So there is nothing to actually attach to at that level. And that's when, we talk about the you're talking about the ancestral. We if the things haven't been healed by the parents, the children then have to carry that. There's also the karma of the collective. There's the karma of past lives, the ancestral karma, all of it, generational karma, a lot of things stacked on. But at the soul level, where there is union and the divine and the universe as it is, isn't attached to any of those stories at that level. It's actually embracing the wholeness of everything. So then, therefore, it isn't attached to one karma or another. It is the purity of life force itself. And that living life force might have these minute stories and all these things happening, but it does not affect or threaten the truth that it is as it is.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, and I'm just now thinking of when you were talking previously about the witness consciousness and how we can arrive to that. Um, in integral yoga and in Indian cosmology, they speak of the Purusha and the Prakriti. The Purusha is the supreme witness, the one who is in the background allowing Prakriti, or the nature, to play and to play in the Leela, and he's sanctioning her play. And so we are here on the earth inside of this really creative play, and um, we are trying through our lives as souls to have our soul emerge more and more so it can become in union with God within this lifetime, not just when we leave, but to
Mhm.
actually, like, to have the victory in this
Mhm.
lifetime, so that in my particular path, what they speak of is we will become more and more divine. We will become we will evolve. We will become more and more light, more connected to God, more able to like have cities or, powers where we're telepathic and like
Mm-hmm.
changing bodies. And so that all sounds really great. But um, I'm just thinking right now at this time on Earth, we're really deep in this
Mm-hmm.
play. It's like a really intense time.
Yes.
And like these ideas are suddenly, I feel, are starting to really come forward of like the soul. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that like in the 60s and 70s, they were a bit more present and then they might have like gone underground a bit, but I do feel like they're starting to come out more and more and people are starting to recognize they have a soul and that they're eternal and that they're inside of this experience. But what I want to ask you about is looking at the collective and like knowing that this is the truth, um, that we can become sovereign in this understanding of ourselves. How do we face the collective that seems so mired
Mm-hmm.
in ignorance? Like, even though it is a part of the play and it is a part of God's will, like to go through
Mm-hmm.
this, um, like
Yeah.
for me personally, it can feel really discouraging sometimes.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I know it's happening. I know that it's bubbling up and people are starting
Mm-hmm.
to recognize the truth.
Yeah.
Um, but how do you reckon with that? And what is
Yeah.
your take on that? Like how can um I mean it starts with each of us individually and
Yeah.
turning more and
Mm-hmm.
more light into our souls, of course. We can't like heal the entire earth at once, but I do believe like in quantum healing and that
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The 100th monkey.
yeah, and that when we heal ourselves,
Yeah.
I've seen it in my own life. I've seen healing happen really rapidly around me. So,
Beautiful.
but how can we make everybody
Yeah.
sovereign, Grace?
Well, that's the thing, right? I think that's interesting. I mean, this is something I feel like we we who are nurturers and caretakers and lovers often wonder about. And and I, for me, I've just really come to this place of like, um, I think I was sharing that with you, loving without agenda. And I can really see, of course, when we start to do the work, the places where we've had agenda within ourselves, right? And continuing to do that work where I don't want to live with this kind of agenda or love without agenda. So in that pure way, like when I think of the awakened masters, right? Jesus, and, I mean, because Easter's coming up, and then there's also Ramadan we're moving through, etc. Um, but and thinking about how we it's such a beautiful question actually, because you're also hinting at we are caretakers of each other. How can we really truly caretake for each other? And although we are evolving and it's becoming more and more obvious, it is also showing where there's such polarization and darkness in our world, which also is reflecting the darkness within us. And I always think that if I do this work within myself, um, I, whoever that I am connected to, and that I, I, I ripple out that energy to them, right? So it isn't for me about like saving the world. Um, it's about knowing what is valuable here and now and what I can touch. And I know that is my work, to be true and to love. And so I have a mantra, of loving all throughout the day, that whoever I come in contact with, whoever, whatever I do, that it is really coming from that place. And that is, I feel, the truest and most honest work I can do. So, so in that way, in my humble way, um, I can do the real work, how I know how to do, and that if we don't know where that the kindness that I showed this person, let's say, and this love, and how that changes them, and then that ripples out in some kind of action and some kind of inspiration or something, we don't know how far that will ripple out. We don't know, like, but I do believe in that. If this is what I believe, is that if we are in our sovereign truth, we bring that power of transformation and love, that actually touches somebody in a way that it too can support them in their path, in their realizing their sovereignty and their love. And and that just continues. But that has to be, do you know, I think this, like, when someone's talking about philosophy and wisdom, at what level they're coming from. They could just be regurgitating like somebody else's quote or something and not really feeling it, like, oh, it's one ear not the other. But if somebody's really embodying that, I mean, you're working your beautiful work, Jenny, in the way you're bringing this work and expressing it, it's coming from heart. I can feel it, and it is transforming me, and it transforms how I then am in my life and who I touch. And that's the real work, because the change that is happening is not happening out there, it's happening through us. And so that is our sovereignty, realizing this body, this being is powerful as it is, and how we can touch each other when we are in our truth.
Yes. Amen.
Amen. Yeah. So,
That's really beautiful. Thank you. Well, I want you to tell me and everybody about your book and your
oh,
course, like how you're bringing this idea out to people and how
mm,
people can stay in touch with you.
yeah. I'm again updating my website. I'm in the great shed and transformation. But yeah, it's Ishadai, Ishadai, at solar.org. That's my website. And Instagram is Ishadai888. I think that's what it is. But let's see. And that is actually, it it's not necessarily a name. It's the energy that's coming through. And Ishade actually means the divine feminine awakening. And this is something that I received, as you know, Jenny, in a lucid dream. And though they gave me like Ishade, they call me that. It is that energy that I'm holding open to release and express into the world, that we remember. And it's the great shifts and balances, as there were a lot of like the patriarch and masculine energies, the feminine energy, the wisdom energy, that energy of the creator, the matrix, the mother is coming through each of us. And as I speak that, I'm recognizing that, and that is happening in each of us. So that's why it's not under Grace. It's actually Ishade, and it's really bringing forth into our awareness the divine mother coming through each of us, and honoring that. And the work here is to support that through the different mystic teachings that I've received and practices from different traditions. um, I've have the Christian mysticism ordained as a Christian mystic and also a Buddhist Lama and a doctorate in medical Qigong. So wanting to really support to bring this beautiful wisdom and practices through to help us realize, to support, to realize the sovereignty within us. And that is honoring both the masculine and the feminine within the divine nature, which is the two that are truly one, right? Because when we're soul, we are actually one with the divine. But when we come into earth, we have the duality of the masculine and feminine. And that can either polarize us or we can bring it together into union to realize the wholeness and the beauty of the union. So that's the work. And so the book is Becoming Sovereign and teaching a course, experimental course on becoming sovereign according through the seasons, because nature actually helps us to come back into nature when we're in um, kind of like work a lot or in the cities, we might get denatured actually. And so if you notice when we're in nature, how quickly we actually come back. And so it's seeing the different ways we can access nature wherever we are so that we can come back over and over again and stabilize into our true nature in whatever is arising in our lives.
Amazing.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Grace.
Wow. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Jenny. You're just so precious. And I just love what you're doing. Love it. And I'm just so
Again,
grateful for you
thank
and
you.
your beautiful wisdoms that you're sharing.
I'm so grateful for you. Let's do this again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's keep talking. Let's have more conversations.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it is, I feel like these are the conversations that really need to be had
Yes.
because you
So
and I
many
are,
that, yeah, we need
yeah.
to talk about. Yeah. I have so many things I was writing down that I was like, while we were
Oh,
talking.
okay.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I love
Okay.
you. Thank you
Love
for
you.
talking. Yeah, let's talk to you soon, okay?
Okay. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.